So let's just have a look at what we're going to do here. We're going to just run through quick SQL Server setup. I've just picked Database Engine Reporting Services. What I'm setting this up for is just to deploy all of the SQL services onto one server. So I want to be able to install operational database, reporting database, and the data warehouse for operations manager. So everything's going on single box for this install. I'm going to just pick the default instance. I've got plenty of disk space on my machine. I would always use a domain account. I've just picked I've created a SQL server, SRV_SCOM SQL. And the really important thing on the correlation is there is only one supported correlation type for SQL for Ops Manager, SQL Latin 1, case insensitive, accent sensitive. So I add myself, and if you had a SQL team that were going to look after this, you would need to add them as administrators on the box. Because I'm installing reporting services onto a server that already has the database engine, it will allow just install the native mode default configuration. So what's going to happen is we're going to perform the install, and it's going to configure reporting services for me. I just get an overview of what's going to happen, and I hit ready to go. What that's going to do is it's going to install SQL. It's going to install and configure reporting services. The prerequisite for this, of course, was that we had the .NET framework installed on the box. For anything you're going to do for System Center, you got to have .NET. I've got 3.51 on this. And with that, that's going to install SQL. We should be ready to go, ready to start our SCOM install. Okay, we've got SQL installed. We've got it service packed. I've just gone and done a check on operational database warehouse. They've both just come back to say they're fine, and I've passed the check. So you can just use the GUI to install the database components. But after SQL 2008 or 2, there was an issue whereby the prerequisite check failed even though SQL was installed, and how we work around it is we just use the DB create wizard. So here's what I'm going to do, irrespective of whether you've got R2 SQL installed or not. Let's just use the DB create wizard to create them. This is all that the GUI does, just calls this from a front end. So I'm just going to say operational database. It's going to be on SCOM vNext. I'm going to create a new database. It's going to be Operations Manager. It picks a default size of 500 megs, pretty small for your average SCOM install. Management group name, I'm just going to call it SCOM vid. Who do you want to have access to it? By default, that's just domain admins are just going to have access to it. You should have, SCOM administrators and put them in there. Whoever you pick in that tick box, if you're not a member of that group afterwards, let's send our reports to Microsoft. There's my summary on it, and let's go and hit finish. When it all finishes, we get database created successfully. When I open SQL, I get to see my Operations Manager database. Happy days. We've got SQL all installed and ready to go. Let's just go and create a management server. It's obviously going to be our first root management server. So when I go in and I pick what I want, I don't need to install the database. We've just done that. I'm going to install management server. I'm going to install, Operation Manager console so I can get to it. I'm not going to install the web console just yet. Where did I install the database? SCOM vNext, Ops Manager. Next. You need 2 accounts to do your management servers install. I create 2 accounts, one called SRV SCOM Action and the next called SRV SCOM SDK. So the SDK has to be a local admin on the box. If it's not, it fails. Okay, you could use the same account for both. It's best practices to separate them off. So it's just going to go and check the SDK. Let's join the customer experience. Go on, and it's going to say ready to install, and off it goes. Last step, we need to just take a backup of the secure encryption key. I'm just going to back up the key. I'm going to save it to backup, C backup.bin. Give a password for what I want it to be, and it was completed. If I just go and have a look in my C drive, there's my backup.bin. So there's my management server installed. I can see it's healthy. In the next step, we're going to look at installing SCOM reporting, installing the web console, and at that point we'll have a fully functioning operations manager environment.